If you're a single mum, the chances are that dealing with your ex hasn't been particularly straightforward. In fact, for some of us, it's been very difficult. Well, I'm delighted today to be joined by parenting and divorce expert, Christina McGhee. She's also author of the book Parenting Apart: How Separated and Divorced Parents Can Raise Happy and Secure Children, which I'm reading at the moment on my Kindle. Christina's promised today to help us understand a few strategies about how best to manage our difficult exes and therefore benefit ultimately our children. Hello, Christina. Lovely to have you with us today.
Hi, Harriet. It's great to be here.
And today we're going to talk about difficult exes because invariably a lot of us are dealing with that. So, would you be able to talk us through some of the key strategies about how we can best manage our exes?
Oh, absolutely, because this is such a huge problem for so many parents. One of the big issues is I think you have to realize that there's an upside to conflict, and
Okay.
that is keeps the connection alive. So the first thing to do is for you to think about where is the payoff for your ex and how do you remove it. For some it's feeling in control or powerful. For others it's, like I said, just maintaining that connection. And as long as the conflict's alive, then they are connected. And for some, it's just that need to feel superiority or importance. So take a look at what might be some motives for your ex.
Okay. And when you've sort of worked out what the motives are, does that help you to then use strategies that can resolve that and better be able to cope with them and manage them?
Well, sure, because then you have some choices. You kind of have a little bit better understanding of what's driving the train, so you might not feed into certain behaviors.
Okay.
Okay.
And so when you've established that and you're not feeding into certain behaviours, what would some key strategies be to sort of to get the best out of your ex, so to speak?
Sure. I think, well, one of the top one is, shift, respond, don't react.
Okay.
Just because you are co-parenting or you're in a parenting relationship doesn't mean that you have to be on call 24/7 to your ex.
Okay.
So, there's very few things, unless it's an emergency, something's happened with the children that's really urgent. You don't have to give an immediate response. So when that text rings through, or that email, or that voicemail, you don't have to respond immediately. You can choose to think about it instead of rifling back a response,
Mm-hmm.
and make a thoughtful response. Sometimes I even suggest that parents sleep on it before they respond,
Mm-hmm.
so that you're not so reactive. Just remember, you don't need to swing at every pitch that your ex tosses your way.
Okay, I mean, I think that's very good advice in life in general. I often, if I'm really angry about something, I might write it down, do a draft email, and then sleep on it, and then look at it again in the morning and think, no, that's a bad idea. So I can totally appreciate that. Okay, so that's the first one. Don't react quickly. What's the next one?
Well, you want to stay consistent. If you have an ex that is kind of like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, nasty one day and nice the next,
Right.
you could be feeding that behavior by, when they're really nice, you engage more. When they're not, you're distant. And that's really confusing for your kids. So what you want to do is decide how you want to communicate, how you want to interact,
Mm-hmm.
and then stay the course. So make sure that you're staying consistent regardless of how your ex is behaving.
Okay.
Okay.
And I guess that sort of is a key message for managing children in general, to stay consistent in everything that you're doing and in terms of routines and dealing with all sorts of people, just so that they can keep calm and know how you're typically going to react.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so important for kids. But also, the other piece about how you engage with your ex and staying consistent, it's really confusing for kids of why
Sure.
mom and dad are getting along one day and the next they're not.
Okay.
So they're never really sure
Okay.
what sets it off or how to respond themselves. And
Okay.
there's a lot of anxiety for
Okay.
them.
All right. And so that's the next one. What's the next key strategy on in how to sort of best manage your ex?
Well, I would say that you want to be realistic.
Okay.
It's okay to hope that someday things will change. And I want to say, for the vast majority, after the dust settles and the emotions calm down, things do get better in time.
Right.
But instead of, trying to figure out, there's so many parents that try and second guess, what their ex is going to do, why they're going to do it, why can't they just get along, and they beat themselves up. Stay focused on what matters most, which is how you handle the conflict. Process the issues with your kids, and then limit the amount of energy that you give to the conflict. Okay. Don't let it consume your life.
No, that's really good advice. So that's be realistic, and what's the next strategy that you'd advise us to pay attention to?
Well, it's not one that many parents like hearing, and that's that it won't get better overnight. As you continue to stay the course and not take the bait, your ex may totally ramp things up to try and get you re-engaged. You're not responding in the way. We all have patterns of behaving, and your ex and you have a history. So they know what kind of things completely tick you off. And they may really push hard to kind of get you to re-engage. So just realize, again, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Okay.
And just realize, do your best to stay consistent and don't get impulsive or reactive in how you respond.
I mean, it's a really tricky balance, isn't it? Because, you do only have so much energy and resistance, and it's just reminding yourself all the time to stay calm and put your children's best interests first, and just realize that your ex is necessarily probably trying to push the buttons and get you to react, and just not to do that, I guess.
And that's tough. That is really, really tough. Which folds into my next tip, which is you really want to keep your eye on the prize.
Okay. And that's not a cup, that's the children, presumably.
Absolutely. And your quality of life. You have a choice. When you're in a difficult relationship with your ex, when it's maybe riddled with conflict, there's just lots going on, it can completely emotionally and mentally drain you. I mean, I have talked with parents where they feel like their lives are just completely consumed by the conflict, and they feel hopeless and helpless. And so that's important that you're connecting into supports, that you have other areas of your life that bring energy into you, so that you're not just focusing on that. That's not the center of your life.
No.
And you also, when you're feeling really overwhelmed, think about, maybe you need a coach or a counselor, someone that can offer you some objective insight into what's going on, that can help you stay energized and really focused on your kids, because it is so, so tough.
I agree. I mean, I think that's really central. I rely on good friends, and often when I have an issue, or I've just had a run-in with my ex, I'll go to them first and say, how should I deal with this? And I'm so glad I have, because otherwise I'd have done it all wrong. I think it is vital. And I do appreciate that these days often our networks can be more limited than they used to be. So it's very important to do that. And as you say, if you don't have that, then you can reach out to a counsellor. And in fact, that's something you do too, isn't it, Christina?
Yes, it is. I spend a lot of time coaching parents by phone.
Fantastic. So to the viewers, that this is another option for you if you don't have the networks that you feel are enough to help you through these difficult situations, then that's a great option for you. Before I let you go, Christina, can you tell us where our viewers can find out a little bit more about you?
Sure, there's a couple of places. One is divorceandchildren.com. Okay. That's where my blog lives, and there's a wealth of information and tips, and if parents want to sign up for my list, then they'll have access to a 12-page resource guide. So if you're looking for help for you or your kids, that's a great place to start. And then if you're interested in coaching or want some more information about how a coach can help, you can check me out at parenting-apart.com.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us today, Christina. It's been of enormous value, and I hope you'll come back and talk to us again about some more issues with parenting software. Super. Thanks so much for being here today.
All right, take care. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye for now. So that was divorce and parenting expert Christina McGhee with some excellent strategies on how to best manage our difficult exes. And I recommend reading her book, Parenting Apart, which you can get hold of from Amazon and either download as a Kindle or buy as a paperback. It's full of some excellent ideas about how to manage your children depending on the age that they're at and the stage and where you are at in the process of your divorce and how far down the road you are. So if you've got any more questions you'd like to ask me, please email Harry at harriet@wellbeingexaminer.com, and I'll do my best to find an expert to answer your questions, and hopefully we shall see you on the next video. In the meantime, please stay happy, healthy single mums.